Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name's Christiana Davidson, and I'm, as you know, a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. And I work in the area of healing from childhood family dysfunction, trauma, that is often the result of growing up in a narcissistic family system. And so today, let's dive straight in now. We've got a really, what can I say, a very sensitive topic. That's the word I'm looking for, because we're going to be talking about cheating. And, many people are sort of maligned and shamed for being in a relationship and being the cheater or cheating on their partner. And it's often seen as something that they do consciously, and that they have no willpower or they're not committed. However, we're going to look at this today as a repetition compulsion. When I say that, what I mean is it is a trauma. It can be a trauma response, and an unconscious means of trying to heal from trauma back then by repeating it in the present. So I'm going to come at this from three different angles as to why somebody may cheat. And if you find yourself doing this, as people do, look, I mean, we all have our ways of trying to cope with life that we learned in childhood and that play out in adulthood. So there's no shame here. There's no shame, but there does come a point where we have to take accountability for our actions. So I'm going to try to alleviate some of the shame that may be around this, but then also sort of perhaps give some idea about how to begin rectifying it. So we're going to look at this from a borderline personality perspective, a narcissistic personality perspective, and a codependent personality perspective. Now, all of us will have traits, perhaps, of these personality disorders. When somebody has a full-blown personality disorder, they may be comorbid as well, so they will have traits of each. Codependency is not a personality disorder, just to clarify that, but borderline and narcissistic are. Okay, so if we look at cheating from a borderline personality perspective, here are some of the reasons why cheating fulfills a function for somebody with this trauma response. So, borderline personality disorder, one of the key symptoms of it is a fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, and a desperate search for the self in others. So often we will see people saying, well, the borderline personality type, they cheat because they have this fear of being alone. So they've got to go out and seek freedom from being alone in others. Or they fear abandonment, so they've got to go out and find others to alleviate that sense of being abandoned. Uh, but really, I don't think that this is the drive for cheating, because often you'll find that the borderline is in quite a healthy relationship, perhaps. Healthy. They're in a stable relationship, and they have a partner who's committed. So, you know, that doesn't suggest a sense of abandonment being the drive to go out and seek somebody else. It's also not perhaps a search for love either. Um, because often if it's happening within a relationship, it's not that the borderline is going out to seek some deficit of love that they're not getting in their partner, because often the partner is very much dedicated and loving, towards them, but they can't receive it. So it's not really a drive for love, I wouldn't suggest. Um, Now, what some of the research suggests is that often with borderline personality disorder, there has been some sexual trauma in childhood. And when I say that, there's been some form of sexual abuse. Um, and sexual abuse, I mean, it has profound impact on a person, on a child specifically. Often those with borderline have been emotionally neglected, and then they've had an experience of sexual abuse. And that sexual abuse moment has been a moment where they've actually, for the first time, felt seen, and they felt some kind of connection, albeit a physical one, but it's a moment of connection for them and of being seen. So, sex in adulthood then becomes a trauma drive as a result of that sexual abuse in that moment when they felt most seen and valued in those moments. It was a moment of some kind of felt connection, and that's key. There's a feltness about the connection in the physical sexual abuse. And this is often what drives the borderline to go outside of a relationship to find that felt connection again. And that's really key to understand here. So it's not actually a fear of abandonment. It's not actually a fear of being alone. It's not trying to escape. It's not trying to find love as such. Um, the borderline has learned that the only way to really be connected is to be physically intimate. Now, the thing is, of course, they can have that with one partner, but that they can never be satisfied because their drive really is to connect with themselves. But because for the borderline, there is no development of a core self as such, they can never be satisfied with one person. They've got to keep looking for that connection out there. They're in multiple places because they cannot find it in one person. So it's actually with the borderline, it's an unconscious drive within them. It's not on purpose, is what I'm trying to say. It's not actually logical, but they're desperately needing to find some connection out there in other people, in multiple partners. In that first rush of connection with a new person, that they get that sense of being seen again, of being valued, of being desired, and that's what they're seeking, because that for them is connection. And then when they're with one person for a long period of time, that sort of being seen and desired tends to fade a bit, and that's where the borderline fears this not being seen and not having connection. So it's definitely not just escapism or a drive out of fear of abandonment. When I say it's unconscious, this doesn't sort of make it okay, because of course the partner that's left behind with a cheating spouse or girlfriend or or boyfriend, because men also have borderline. Um, I share this just to sort of give a bit of perspective on it, but it doesn't make it okay, is what I'm trying to say. The thing about it is, though, with borderline, once we uncover the core trauma and once we begin to see, once we're able to help the person develop a connection with the self more, there is less of a drive to seek it out there. So borderline has great potential for healing and for remedying this drive, but it takes an awful lot of work, and there has to be great commitment on the part of the person who is displaying this trauma response. Now, if we look at it from a person with more narcissistic personality disordered ways of being, not all narcissists or those with NPD cheat. Some of them can't because they they haven't got the ability, they haven't got the attractiveness, perhaps to have multiple partners. So not all narcissists cheat, as we may uh, have come to believe. Others do, however, and often it's born out of a sex addiction. And it's slightly different to the borderline because it's less about the connection with a narcissist, it's more about the attention seeking. So for a narcissist, it's very hard for them to say no uh, when somebody is giving them attention or admiration or approaching them. That's their drive, is to have that attention, which boosts the esteem. And that for the narcissist is like a drug. It's a dopamine hit, and they will go seeking that in order to maintain the self-esteem, their sense of worth. Another key aspect for narcissistic types is that they actually have no empathy, and that they see everybody as appliances or objects to be used to support their false self. So, whether they're in a committed relationship or not, um, you know, to go off and have multiple partners for them doesn't really seem to be such a bad thing. And then they can often be sort of blaming the partner for their cheating and suggesting, well, it's because you're not satisfying me, you're inadequate somehow. I need to do this. That they see the sex act as nothing more than sort of, I don't know, smoking a cigarette or something like that. It's not, it doesn't have the sort of, they don't have the moral, what can I say, strength or value as somebody else might. So they can deny it. They might come to you saying, well, look, it was a momentary thing. I'm not going to do it again. It wasn't really cheating. I love you. I've come back to you. So I'm dedicated to you. I didn't really cheat. It's you that I love. And no, I won't do it again. But of course, in the moment, and this is the narcissist gets caught up in the moment, um, gets some attention, and the whole thing kicks off again, needing that drug, that dopamine hit, to maintain and regulate. That's what it's about with the narcissistic type. Another key thing about narcissistic personality disorder is that they are thrill seekers. They're wanting to escape boredom. The narcissist is looking for the next thing that's going to grab their attention, and that will also be in terms of finding somebody to go behind their partner's back with, to experience the thrill of cheating. It's almost like in relationship with a narcissist, their partner becomes the mother figure for them. And so it's akin to a child going behind mother's back, and the thrill of that, being naughty. It can be electrifying for a narcissistic type. It's like a game. It's an addictive cycle. And of course, with any addiction, you seek more, you need more and more to get that first hit of addiction. As they say, addicts are always chasing that first hit of addiction, and this is addiction to people, addiction to sex, addiction to being wanted, to the thrill of almost being in control of an experience of another person as well. So there's a feeling of euphoria that drives the narcissist to seek to cheat repeatedly. And the thing is, for the narcissist, it can be almost like a love, it can feel like a love that they experience with these other partners, these other people rather, those that they cheat with. But it's a false love. It's a high of addiction. They can protest that they're deeply in love with this person, that it's just, when I'm with them, it's just euphoria, and it's bliss. I've never had anything like this with anyone before. But of course, that's not love. That's being high. Love is about value. It's about respect, about honor, and those things rarely are part of the narcissistic drive when it comes to cheating. Now, with a codependent type, codependents also cheat. The codependent may find that they end up cheating as a result of their trauma response, which is to fawn. So they might have not very good boundaries. They don't have very good boundaries, rather. So they're more likely to just go along with something and pretend they're liking it, end up cheating because of a lack of being able to put in good boundaries. So that's more of the codependent reason for cheating. Now, when you're the partner, when you're the one that's been cheated on, it can feel like the greatest rejection, and it can lead to feelings of inadequacy, and that in some ways you are the reason that this person has sought others instead of you. But that is not the case at all, and I hope that that's what comes across in this video today, that if you have been cheated on, it's actually nothing to do with you. This is often an unconscious drive or an addiction. It's a repetition compulsion that causes those with deep childhood wounds to cheat. It has nothing to do with you or your performance, or not being good enough for your partner, or not being able to satisfy them. They are unsatisfiable because what they're really searching for the borderline, it's a search for connection with the self. And for the narcissist, it's for that attention. It's for that sense of being desired and admired. And of course, it's that sense of euphoria that they seek as well, the high. And of course, that's not what love is. That's not what true connection is either. So if you do find yourself in a relationship like this, either you're the cheater or you're the one being cheated on, it just means that there is some deep work that needs to be done. We need to go back to the cause of this, because it's all a symptom, whether you're being cheated on or you're the cheater. No shame on either part, but accountability on both parts, for both the cheated on and the cheater. Both have to take accountability of their own traumas and their own way of being in relationship. And that's the work that I do with clients. So if that's something that you're wanting to do, please reach out to me. I'm here, and we can do a deep dive into this and get you moving out of these repetition compulsions. Thanks, everybody. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Yeah, thank you for all your comments. Thank you to those that have subscribed to my channel, and I shall see you again soon for another video. Take care. Bye now.